Hello everybody. Before we get into health news for today, I have just a couple of quick announcements, and the first one is Chef Dell, who was on our previous broadcast, will be doing a conference call on August 16th. And the subject is healthy school lunches or healthy work lunches, as the case may be. So if you are a person who is tired of peanut butter and jelly and you're running out of ideas, Dell will offer lots of suggestions on things that pack well, keep well, are inexpensive, and great to take to work or send to school with your child. So all you have to do is call the office at 614-841-7700, and you can participate in this call if you're a member. Now, another thing I want to mention is, I'm one of those people who likes to do everything and have everything, and I want to have it all. And so it seems like there's always something slipping through the cracks while I'm trying to do that, and one of them is social networking. So my track record is this. Sometimes I am really good about Twitter for a while, and then I'm not, and then I post on Facebook for a while, and then I stop, and I write on my blog, and then I don't do it. And so one of my resolutions, I don't make New Year's resolutions, this is my August resolution, is to pay attention to all of these things on a regular basis. And so I started making some entries onto my blog, and I thought maybe the first topic would be about juggling all the busyness and trying to get everything done. And as it turns out, I can write a paragraph and not really interfere with anything that I'm doing. So in any case, if you go to wellnessforum.com, up in the right-hand corner, there's a little icon for blog. You can click on it, and if you want to make some comments, and maybe you even have some suggestions as to how I can get more things done, I'm really interested in dialoguing with all of you. So now we'll get into today's topic. And for those of you who are on my VoiceCom broadcast list, you know that for a while I've been sending out announcements and covering Peter Gacci's very interesting book on mammography. Gacci is head of the Cochrane Collaboration, which is an organization that is very outspoken against mammography because it does not save lives. And as you might imagine, since I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks, I've been getting lots of emails. And the emails that I'm getting are mostly questioning, people trying to understand what I'm talking about. I'm really not getting hostile emails yet, although that could come later. But mostly it's just people questioning the things that I'm saying, trying to understand it better. And so I thought maybe I'd address a couple of the things that are persistent questions that might be valuable for everybody. And one of the reasons I'm spending so much time on this mammography issue is that it affects half the population. All of us women are pressured into getting mammograms. In fact, I got a letter from my insurance company about a week or two ago telling me it was time to go get a mammogram and applying that gentle pressure to make sure that I go and comply and do it. So this is such a big issue. It affects all of us so much that I think it is worth the time we spend on it. So when I start talking about mammography, and the science clearly shows that it doesn't save lives, one of the first things that happens is people say to me, well, I know somebody who had a mammogram, cancer was detected early, and that's the reason why the person is with us today. And I can understand how that experience might have happened, but I'm going to bring some more information to the table that might help you understand why that might not necessarily be true. In other words, the person might still be with us today even if they didn't have the mammogram, even if the breast cancer wasn't detected. So here's the issue. Thousands of women every year are treated for cancer when they don't really have cancer. Now you might wonder, how can that possibly be? Well, we call this cancer that's not really cancer ductal carcinoma in situ is one example. There are several, but we're going to stick with breast cancer today. So ductal carcinoma in situ. Ductal means in the milk ducts. Carcinoma is cancer. In situ means contained. It's all in one location. It hasn't spread beyond the milk duct. It's not invasive, and 98% of the time, these carcinoma in situs, or DCIS, do not turn into cancer. So what we're talking about is cells that histologically look like cancer, but they're not really cancer. So a strong case could be made that for most women, you just leave it alone. You're probably going to die with it, but not of it. But that's not what really happens. Women are offered treatment, and most of them take it because they think they have cancer. And the treatment is a lumpectomy or mastectomy. In fact, 25% of the time, these non-cancers result in mastectomy, which is almost unconscionable. Women are advised to have follow-up radiation. They're often put on drugs like aromatase inhibitors or tamoxifen. And there are lots of negative byproducts of this whole thing, one of which is that women who don't really have cancer are labeled as cancer patients. That follows them for the rest of their lives. Obviously, there is a tremendous psychological toll when you're told that you have cancer. Even if you really do have cancer, there's a tremendous psychological toll, but it's almost unconscionable if you don't have cancer. There are side effects of overtreatment. I would contend that a woman who has any type of surgery for a cancer that's non-existent constitutes overtreatment. Not a good idea. Always risks associated with having any kind of surgery. Follow-up radiation increases the risk of dying from particularly heart disease because of damage to the heart muscle. And the side effects from the drugs that are prescribed, and by the way, I use notes to keep myself on track so I don't just talk for 3.5 hours about this, and I wanted to make sure I covered some of these, but some of the side effects of the drugs are constipation, hot flashes, nausea, fatigue, rash, hives, tightness in the chest, vaginal bleeding, shortness of breath, headaches, and increased risk of new breast tumors as a result of the drugs. Now, don't you think it's kind of amazing? We take somebody who doesn't really have cancer, and by the time we're finished with them and put them on the drugs, they actually are at higher risk of developing breast tumors. It's amazing. So I don't really think that this is beneficial for women. I'll tell you who it is beneficial for. It is very beneficial for individuals and institutions who sell mammography services. It is very beneficial for doctors who perform surgery and hospitals who offer surgical procedures, and it is very beneficial for the drug companies who make the drugs that are prescribed. Not good for women, very good for the medical field. And the cancer industry benefits too. And this is sort of an ugly little side effect that people don't like to talk about, but the reality is that when women who don't have breast cancer are diagnosed with breast cancer and treated for it, almost all of them live 5 years. Believe it or not, in the cancer business, by the way, 5-year survival is considered the gold standard. So these women all live 5 years. They go into the success category as survivors, and they make the cancer industry look like it's doing a whole lot better than it's actually doing. And of course, this keeps research money flowing into organizations like the American Cancer Society and other groups. So breast cancer is big business, and there is a vested interest in making sure that women do not know about what I'm talking to you about today, so that they keep getting the mammograms and they keep business flowing into the hospitals and doctors' offices and drug prescriptions. So all this to say that when people say they know somebody who was diagnosed with breast cancer early with mammography, they may know somebody who was actually diagnosed with a ductal carcinoma in situ and treated for a condition that 98% of the time they really shouldn't have been treated for. Now, to give you some specific numbers, again, a lot of this information I've talked about for years. I've written about it for many, many years. In my book, Solving America's Healthcare Crisis, there's an actual chapter that deals with this too. But here are the statistics. Mammography prevents 1 death from breast cancer for every 1,000 women screened for 12 years. 1 life is saved. But here's the kicker. 6 women die of overtreatment. Now, I don't want to minimize the effect of 1 life saved, but what do we say to the families of the 6 women who die in order to save 1 woman's life? This is just simply not a program that's appropriate for general public consumption. Another problem with mammography is that the stated purpose of the test is to reduce the risk of dying from breast cancer. And the idea is if we catch the cancers early and we treat them before they progress, that you have a better chance of survival. Now, if this was really true, what we should see is a sharp drop-off in the death rate from breast cancer. And I'm not talking about the 5-year survival rate. Let's not confuse the issue here. I'm talking about long-term death rates from breast cancer. Actually, mammography does not result in reduction in deaths from breast cancer. And in fact, there's some very interesting research that shows that death rates from breast cancer have actually dropped more in areas where mammography screening is not routinely offered than it has in areas where the screening is offered. It's just the exact opposite of what women are being told to try to coerce them into having mammograms. Now, the book that I mentioned earlier is something I think everybody should read. It's a technical book, and I know it's hard for a lot of people to get to, but it's written by Peter Gotchi, who's head of the Cochrane Collaboration. His last name, if you're looking for it on Amazon or anyplace else, is spelled Gotzsche. And the group and Gotchi have been analyzing the research on mammography for a good number of years, and as you might imagine, they have taken a great deal of ridicule and trying to be ostracized from the healthcare community. I mean, when you start talking about interrupting sales of billions of dollars worth of products and procedures and diagnostic tests, people get a little nasty about it. But he has persisted in getting this message across, that mammography hurts more women than it helps. So a complete review of Gotchi's book is posted in the Health Brace Online Library, which is a service we offer at the Wellness Forum. There are about 5,000 pages of articles. Most of them are referenced, and if you want to get access to that library, same number to call, 614-841-7700. And so I'll stop there. As I said, I keep notes because I could talk about this issue for several hours, but you probably would get tired of listening. So I will be back to you next week. I want to share some interesting information about vaccines that I learned in one of our sessions in the Diet and Lifestyle Intervention course. And it's a great topic to talk about because so many kids are going in for their doctor visits to get cleared to play sports, and I'm getting lots of emails from parents who are real concerned about the issues. So thanks for listening, and if you have any questions or comments you'd like to make about this broadcast, or any others for that matter, Pam Popper at msn.com is my email, and please feel free to forward this to anybody who you think should be watching it.